Hi, my name's Chris Koehn. I'm a former journalist and an Edmonton videographer. Mostly, I spend my days in front of a laptop with Adobe Creative Suite, using anything from the layout to video editing to photo editing and that sort of stuff. So,
great. Which apps do you like the best out of the Adobe Suite?
My favorite, to be honest, is InDesign. I love just designing books and even I'll just see a nice newspaper and I'll copy the layout and just start filling it with, you know, Lorem Ipsum, Citamet, and Dole.
Fantastic.
But I find spending time poring over my photos in Lightroom and then, you know, going back and forth between Photoshop and that sort of thing is one of my favorite things. It consumes hours, but it's really interesting to just see what you took on camera, see how different it is as the camera recorded it, and then you're trying to, some people do, I like to generally try to edit my photos to more represent what I think I saw or remember seeing at the scene, you know, so it isn't necessarily as flat or maybe certain colors pop. I'll spend hours doing that. Sometimes it's leaves you stuck in the office and you wish you could shoot more, but you know, when you nail that one photo and you see that and you go, wow, you know, I'm going to push this out to Instagram or something, and
yeah,
it's really,
sense of satisfaction.
yeah, well, it's really satisfying, especially when you can kind of, I like I said, to recreate that scene that I think I saw or that I recall. So
Absolutely.
and with digital tools, you can do that a lot. I mean, I've dabbled in film back in the days and stuff like that, and there was a heck of a lot that you had to do with film. And if you're starting to do color and things like that, you're trusting a lab. But here, it's everything. It's the capture, it's the editing, and the whole process comes down to you. And with everything on the internet these days, you can learn anything about it too. Like it's so available to everybody. There's really no excuse for not taking up some kind of digital hobby these days, or any hobby really.
Absolutely.
So.
Any other techs of interest?
Do we want to talk about what I had mentioned?
Absolutely.
Because on learning and hobbies and things like that, there's a lot of those how-tos and tutorials out there.
Yeah.
You type in any subject and you will get any number of responses, everything from amateurs that are just putting out there what they've done there to pros, everything. Invariably, you'll come up to a lynda.com ad, you know, and you'll click on it, and it's premium, but it's great stuff. But it's funny because I've run into a lot of people, and they don't even know that you can get free lynda.com access with your Edmonton Public Library card.
Yeah.
So all you need to do is just sign up for your card, get it enabled online, go to lynda.com, and then it'll direct you when you sign up to go to an institutional portal. You start punching in the epl.ca, and it will take you to a sign-in site that enables the full premium content for you, which is, they have everything. They got all the top experts in their fields talking about everything from even gear updates to marketing, learning any of the Adobe Creative Suite stuff. I've learned quite a bit of stuff off there. Actually, they've even got courses on how to just organize your workflow a little better in Lightroom.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool that I don't think anybody really realizes they have access to just through their free library card.
Absolutely.
Everybody I mentioned to it, like I said, is always blown away. And I was looking at it earlier, and Calgary, Victoria, and Vancouver, they all have access. Other libraries are coming online. It's just something really interesting to be able to learn almost anything you want. And one of the more expensive things that you can get involved in is lighting.
Yeah.
Lighting panels, there's lighting wands like the ice. It's this really cool Westcott product. You know, it's a nice soft light, ice light. There's all this LED stuff is coming out these days now. It's really made lighting cheaper, but you still have to pay the big money for the high output, the color CRI, you know, the color correction and stuff like that, your temperatures and stuff. So starting up with low budget stuff like that, it was nice to see these little Lume cubes.
Yes.
And I think those were just kickstarted sort of recently. Great idea. They're just maybe almost 2 inches cubed and very high output for these LEDs. they're battery powered, they charge USB, and they're waterproof. You know, you tighten up the seal on the back there for the USB connection. Yeah. And they operate by your phone. So you can place them however you like within range. You can even have them in water or take them on a surfboard if you go to the LoomCube site or whatever. You see a lot of the content and photos people are shooting with it are just really amazing night surfing photos and stuff like that.
And I bet you can control it from your smartphone.
Yeah, exactly. So you can not only turn them on, but you can control the brightness. There's like 10 levels of brightness, I think. You can also turn it into a mini strobe. It'll sense whether your lens or your flash has gone off and add to the light. You can just turn the whole bank on and off, have them all set up for everything for your scene. And at full power, they're about 30 to 40 minutes, and you just let them go. And they add a whole new creative dimension, I think, to your photography, especially if you're into any of that night photography and light painting. Yeah. You can even mount them on drones. I've seen people paint scenes from multiple camera exposures that they blend in the end. They just blend out the drone. But they'll hover the drone over certain areas they want to highlight with lights. And they're so light, they'll fit on your DJI. And they create just some fantastic photos that you wouldn't necessarily think you could possibly make. But it's amazing how people are using all these tools to just keep pushing these creative limits.
Absolutely.
Yeah, actually, I was a Nikon shooter for years in my photojournalist career, and I loved it. I loved Nikon. I had a D2H and a D7000 in my huge bag, and one for wide, one for telephoto, all that sort of stuff. Loved it. Great files out of them, great performance, amazing glass, that sort of thing. I left journalism, really found that I wasn't using my cameras as much. I left Nikon for something a little smaller, more compact, and I went to the Olympus Micro Four Thirds system. It allowed me to just get out there more, you know what I mean? Yeah. It just didn't feel like I was packing luggage when I was going.
Absolutely.
And I got to the point where my Nikon kit was a little small, but this was half the weight, and with a small pancake lens on it, I could actually pocket my camera. So I had the OMD EM5. It was a nice little retro-looking camera, but it had some pretty serious image quality if you use the right lenses with it. And I went from there and just figured, you know what, I'm going to try their flagship, right? Because I've had some of Nikon's high-end cameras, and I was like, I'll give this Olympus a try. And I got the OMD EM1 Mark II. It is 60 frames a second. It's crazy. It's got 4K, and it's pretty light. It's a bit bigger than my OMD EM5, but it's not my D2H or my other cameras. Yeah. Anyway, so I bought some of the more expensive glass for that, like the 75 millimeter 1.8, and wow, just some of the crystal clear shots coming out of that. It's been a great camera for almost everything I do, even night photography and astro I'm trying to get into a bit. So I was wondering how I could get this camera system to do geotagging for me. Nikon, you can buy a little adapter for it, and then that just instantly writes and takes care of the file. It's a little clunky, but it works really well once you have it going. So with the OMD camera that I have now, there's an app that you can get on your phone called Olympus Image Share. And what it does is not only does it allow you to remote control your phone, which is a pretty interesting feature, especially if you're taking long exposures and you don't want to touch the camera, right? And shutter and that sort of thing. So, but it also has the geotagging feature. So what I do is I just open the app up, hit the logging, slide it to on, throw it in my pack, throw it in my pocket, whatever, and then I start taking photos. So I'll walk around Edmonton and just start taking some interesting photos here and there, whatever, around the river valley or some of the neighborhoods. Then that whole time, I'm getting GPX file information onto my phone. So when I'm done shooting, I cancel it, turn it off, and then I just connect to my OMD wirelessly through the phone, and it just sends a file over and quickly writes a sidecar file onto my OMD picture files. So then I import it into Lightroom, and I can hit the map feature on that, and I can see everywhere I've gone, and it's placed every every image right along there. I find it's really neat if you're interested in journaling and stuff like that. I plan to make more use of this when I do some travels through BC and Alberta next year. But I can imagine there's probably business applications for it too, insurance, other anything that where you would need to log a location as well. I think it's going to be great the more I use it, just so I can remember that was a cool place. Maybe I'd like to go there around sunset or something, and then I know exactly where I was. And it's seamless. I mean, I know Canon has something similar, Canon Connect, I think it's called, and it's a very simple program that again just I guess connects with your camera, logs. It's another interesting creative tool you can do, especially.
And some bodies are coming out with GPS on them now
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, some things like especially with these little Olympus cameras, I don't know how they jammed what they did into it, so.
Right.
Maybe putting GPS into that isn't the greatest. But for now, it's a seamless solution. It's not one of those clunky kind of things that you'll do, and you'll go, geez, I wish this were easier, right? Or this isn't intuitive or anything. You just turn it on, okay, log geotags, done, sync, and it does it all for you.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when technology just does what it's supposed to do and gets out of the way, and then you can do what you need to do.
Yes, make our lives simpler, right?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Chris.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Okay.